Morning. Morning, Carpet 2018. Still not quite awake. Welcome from Canada. I love Mexico. I've been there twice. I'd like to go more often. I've been to Puerto Vallarta and Cancun. I went to Guadalajara. Nice, yeah. It's too bad that Canada and Mexico weren't neighbors, because we love each other, and I think we get along better than. I gotta bake a ton today, so I'm gonna just focus on baking. I need more seeds than that. Oh, nice. Yeah, Vancouver is a great place to visit. I moved here about 5 years ago, or yeah, I guess about 5 years ago. Moved here in 2013. So, yeah. A little more than 5. I need to get something from the back. I actually haven't had a lot of experience with Americans. I don't think I've ever had like an actual conversation with Americans, with an American that I could think of. I guess border guards would have been the last conversation I had with an American citizen. Oh, okay, I'm gonna get baking. Let's see. Okay, the first batch is in. I'm not gonna do much talking this morning. I gotta bake a whole bunch of extra bagels for 7 o'clock. It's an art. I'm an employee here. I've worked for this company for 5 years now. It's called Rosemary Rock Salt, and there's 5 locations. This one's on Commercial Drive. Hopefully one day it'll be my business. I'll be in a position to say it's my business. If not this one, another. I'd like to do a vegetarian version of what this place is. This place, we serve Montreal style smoked meat and turkey, and I'd probably still serve lox. I love lox. Yeah, I'd do a vegetarian bagel shop. It's my dream. Or mostly vegetarian. A pescatarian bagel shop. Yeah. I'd call it Piper's, because I love the Pied Piper. Piper's Bagel Shop. Oh, thank you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. I'm sure. We'll virtually see each other soon. Virtually. Oh, I got a stiff neck. Yeah, you have a good Sunday too. Thank you. I need to loosen up my shoulders. I should really warm up with some stretching before I do this. I don't often do that. Ugh, sure looks ridiculous, but come on, bagels, hurry up. I need to bake you. Here, I'll turn the camera down so you can see what I'm doing on the table here. I don't think I've really shown much of that. So these are the boards. Yeah, you should. We're hiring. Sorry, I have to crouch down like this to get into the frame. So these are the boards here. And the bagels are in the pot here. Just waiting for them. I got a little bit too much water in my pot. I might need to drain a bit. Am I the CEO? No, I'm just one of the bakers. I'm the baker CEO. Actually, I'm not even that, so. Just gonna stir the pot. Can't really stir the pot because it's too full, so I'm gonna have to do something here. We're gonna make sesame seed bagels. Move over bagels in the way. There we go. Line my boards up. I'm just reshaping them here. And there they are in the oven. Scraper. I was gonna give it a scraper. And I'm gonna put my next batch in water. This here is a scraper. This is an oven with bagels on a board. These are bagels on boards. And this is a giant pot. These are mahogany boards. This is my oven broom. Has a wire brush. Yeah, this is my bagel. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say my bagel kitchen, but it's the bagel kitchen that I bake my bagels in. Sorry for the camera angle. I'm trying to get a better view of the of what I'm doing with my hands here. So I'm just gonna flip these off the boards here in a minute onto the deck. I make oven? No. I just have, I don't know. Maybe I just look tired. Maybe I'm just tired. I have rings around my dark rings around my they're dry right now, but I'm gonna make them wet so before I put them back in the oven. There we go. There's my planks from the oven. You can give them another wipe with some cold water. And those are ready to go. Nice. I've been doing this for about 5 now. Just gonna move these into the center of the oven. So I've just moved the bagels into the center of the oven where the heat is more consistent. My next batch is just popping up to the surface. I'm just keeping my boards wet, cooling them down. It prevents the bagels from sticking. And hello, welcome to the stream. Okay, I'm gonna do my everything next. So I get my everything seeds ready. These are everything seeds, or this is everything mixed, I should say. Hello, welcome Tom. I think I remember you, Tom. It's been a long while. Glad to see you're still watching. So I got one in bagel batch in the center of the oven. I'm gonna put my next one in a moment. Just waiting for them to soften. Make sure that they're cooked all the way through. We use bagels that have been frozen, so we have to boil them for a little bit longer than you would if they were fresh. Yeah. So you bake them, just get them going. Yeah, you want to be a nice golden brown color, nice even bake, golden brown. What is I just took these are bagels. These are Montreal style bagels. I'm just covering them with seeds here. I'm gonna reshape them. So there's 30 bagels in a batch, 15 per board. So. Here we go. We got 2 batches. Turn my flames up a bit. Just clean my table off. Put my next batch in. It's 2 stragglers, gotta put those back. Sometimes you get stuck to the bottom. Make sure all the seeds are off my table. I got a plain batch coming up, and if I don't have my table clean, the seeds will stick to the bagels. You don't want that? So we got 3 batches on the go now. We got 1 in the center of the oven. We got 1 on the boards. We got 1 in the pot. Raisin of berry bagels. We have a cinnamon bagel, and we're gonna introduce a cinnamon raisin bagels eventually. I'm not sure exactly when that's gonna happen though. So I'm just, the ones in the center are just starting to turn brown. These ones are starting to expand, and they'll dry out and get shiny. So I'll flip these ones off the boards right when I see these ones starting to brown a little bit more. They're just this close to being brown, starting to brown. So just this close. Hanlon towns in Brunswick, by famous Hanover city. The river Weser deep and wide washes its wall on the southern side. A pleasanter spot you've never spied. But when begins my ditty, almost 500 years ago, to see the townsfolk suffer so, from vermin was a pity. Rats, they fought the dogs and killed the cats, and bit the babies in the cradles, and ate the cheeses from the vats, and licked the soup from the cook's own ladle. Split open the kegs of salted sprats, made nests in the men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning out their speaking with shrieking and squeaking in 50 different sharps and flats. Alas, the people in a body to the town hall came flocking. 'Tis clear, cried they, our mayor is a naughty, and as for our corporation, shocking to think we buy gowns lined with ermine, for dolts who can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope because you're old and obese to find in the first of a gross ease. Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking to find the remedy we are lacking, or sure as fate will send you packing. At this the mayor and corporation quaked with a mighty consternation. An hour they sat in council. At length the mayor broke silence. For a gilder eyed my ermine gown sell, I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rack one's brain. I'm sure my poor head aches again. I scratch it so, but all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap. Just he said this, what should have at the chamber door but a gentle tap. Bless us, cried the mayor, what's that? With the corporation as it sat, looking little through wondrous fat. Nor brighter were his eyes, nor moister than a too long opened oyster, save when at noon his paunched or muteness, for a plate of turtle green and glutinous. Only a scraping of shoes on a mat, anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart go pit-a-pat. Come in, cried the mayor, looking bigger, and in did come the strangest figure. His long queer coat from heel to head was half yellow and half red, and he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like a pin, and light loose hair and swarthy skin, nor tuft of hair on cheek, nor beard on chin. The lips were smiled without end. There was no guessing his kith or kin, and nobody could enough admire this tall man in his quaint attire. Quoth one, it's as my great-grandsire, starting up with the trump of doom's tone, had walked this way from his painted tombstone. He advanced towards the council table, and please, your honor, said he, I am able, by means of secret charm to draw, all the creatures living beneath the sun, the crawler, swimmer, fly, or run, after me so as you never saw. And I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do people harm, the mole and toad and newt and viper. The people call me the Pied Piper. And here they notice round his neck a scarf of red and yellow stripe, to match with his coat of self-same check, and that scarf stemmed on the pipe, and his fingers they noticed were ever straying, as if impatient to be playing upon this pipe, as low it dangled, over his vesture so old-fangled. Yes, said he, Pied Piper as I am, in Tartary I fred the cam, last June in the huge swarms of gnats. I ease in Asia than I am, of a monstrous brood of vampire bats, and as for what your brain bewilders, if I rid your town of rats, will you give me 1,000 guilders? 50,000 was the exclamation of an astonished mayor and corporation. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Like a musical adept to blow his pipe, his lips he wrinkled, and green and bluish sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. An air free snow house pipe uttered, heard as if an army muttered. The muttering grew to a grumbling, and a grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses came the rats tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, briny rats, brown rats, black rats, grey rats, tawny rats, brave old plodders, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the pipe for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step to step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one who stout as Julius Caesar, swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished, to Rat Landholm's commentary, which was, at first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard a sound as of scraping tripe, and putting apples wondrous ripe, into the cider presses gripe, and moving away of pickle tub boards, and leaving a jar of conserve cupboards, and drawing the corks of choine ale flasks, and breaking hoops of butter casks, and it seemed as if a voice, sweeter far than by harper by Soleries breathed, called out, "O rats, rejoice! The world has grown to a vast dry saltery. So munch on, crunch on, take your lunch on, breakfast, supper, dinner, lunch on, and just a bulky sugar punch on, all around staved like a great sun shone, gracious scarce an inch before me. Just as thought it said, come bore me, I found the rest are rolling over me." You should have heard the Hamlin people ring the bells, they rock the steeple. "Go," cried the man, "get long poles, poke out the nests and block up the holes, consult with carpenters and builders, and leave in our town not even a trace of the rats." When suddenly up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace. "But first, if you please, my 1,000 guilders. 1,000 guilders." The mayor lip blew, so did the corporation too. For Count David made rare habit, with clear aim will sell vin de gras pot, and half the money would replenish the seller's biggest butt of Greenwich. To pay this sum to a wondering fellow, with gypsy coat, red and yellow. Besides, quoth the mayor with a knowing wink, our business was not at the river's brink. We saw with their eyes firm and sink, and with dead can't come to life, I think. So, friend, we're not folks to shrink from our duty of giving you something to drink, and a matter of money to put in your poke. But as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you well know, wasn't joke. Besides, our losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders, come take 50. The piper's face fell and he cried, "No trifling, I can't wait beside. I promise a visit by dinner time, Baghdad, and accept the crime of the head cook's potage. All he's rich in, for having left in the caliph's kitchen of a nest of scorpions no survivor. With him I prove no bargain driver. With you don't think I'll bait a skiver. The folks who put me in a passion may find me pipe after another fashion." "How," cried the mayor, "do you think I brook, being worse treated than a cook, insulted by a rival, with idle pipe and vesture piebald? Threaten us, fellow, do your worst, blow your pipe here till you burst." Once more he stepped into the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe of smooth straight cane, and ever he blew 3 notes, such sweet soft notes as yet musicians cunning never gave the enraptured air. There was a rustling that seemed like a bustling of merry crowds justling and pitching and hustling. Small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping, and little tongues chattering, and like foals in the farmers when barley is scattering, out came the children running, all the little boys and girls, with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping ran merrily after. The wonderful music was shouting and laughter. The mayor was dumb and the council stood, as if they're changed in the blocks of wood, unable to move a step or cry, to the children merrily skipping by, could only follow with an eye that joyous crowd at the piper's back, and how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched bosoms, the merry bosoms beat, as the piper turns in the high street, to where the west have rolled its waters, right in the way of their sons and daughters, how he turned from south to west, and to Copperberg Hill his steps addressed, and after him the children pressed. Great was the joy in every breast. He never crossed the mighty top. He's forced to let the piping drop, and we shall see our children stop. When lo, they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollow. The piper advanced, and the children followed. And when all were in to the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. Did I say all? No, one was lame, and could not dance the whole of the way. And in after years, if you'd blame his sadness, he was used to say, "This dull in our town since my playmates left. I can't forget that I'm bereft of all the pleasant sights they see, which the piper also promised me. For he led us, he said, to a joyous land, joining the town in just at hand, where waters gushed and fruit trees grew. flowers before the bearer knew, and everything was strange and new. The sparrow has buried their peacock here, and their dogs outrun our fellow deer, and honeybees have lost their stings, and horses were born with eagle's wings. And just as I became assured, my lame foot be speedily cured, the music stopped, and I stood still, and found myself outside the hill, left behind against my will, to go now limping as before, and never hear of that country more. Alas, alas, for Hamlin, there came into many a burgher's pate the text which says that heaven's gate opes to the rich at as easy rate as the needle's eye takes a camel in. The mayor sent east, west, north, and south, talk of the piper by word of mouth, wherever was men's lot to find them, silver and gold to his heart's content, if only he'd return the way he went, and bring the children behind him. But when they saw 'twas lost endeavor, and piper and dancer were gone forever, they made a decree that lawyers never should think their records dated duly, if after the day of the month and year, these words do not as well appear. And so long after what happened here, on the 22nd of July, 1376, and the better in memory to fix the place of the children's last retreat, they called it Pied Piper's Street. Were anyone playing pipe or tabor, was sure for his future to lose his labor, nor suffered they hostel or tavern, to shock with mirth the street so solemn. And opposite the place of the cavern, they wrote the story on a column, and on great church window painted, the same to make the world acquainted, how their children were stolen away, and there it stands this very day. And I must not admit to say that in Transylvania there's a tribe of alien people who ascribe the way and dress of which their neighbors lay such stress to their fathers and mothers having risen out of some subterranean prison into which they were Japan a long time ago in a mighty band out of Hamlin towns in Brunswick land, but how or why they don't understand. So, Lily, let me and you be wipers of scores out with old men, especially pipers. And if they should pipe us free from rats or from mice, if they promise us aught, let us keep our promise. Whew, I taught. Hello all, welcome to the stream. Oh, ciao, ciao, see ya. Have a great day. Ciao. Ciao. My first thought was he lied at every word, that hoary cripple with malicious eye, askins to watch the working of his lie on mine, and mouth scarce able to afford suppression of the glee, the person scored its edge at one more victim gained thereby. What else should he be set for with his staff? What saved to waylay with his lies and snare all travelers who might find him posted there? And ask the road, I guessed what skull-like laugh would break, or crutch can write my epitaph for pastime in the dusty thoroughfare. If at his counsel I should turn aside into ominous track which all agree hides the dark tower, yet acquiescingly at his turn as he pointed, neither pride nor hope rekindling at the end descried, so much as gladly some end might be. For what with my whole world lies wondering, what with my search drawn out through years, my hope dwindled into a ghost not fit to cope with that obstreperous joy success would bring. I hardly tried now to rebuke the spring, my heart made finding failure in its scope. As a sick man very near to death seems dead indeed, and feels begin and end the tears, and takes the farewell of each friend. And here's one bid the other go, draw breath freely or outside. Since all is over, he saith, and the blow fallen, no grieving can amend. While some discuss it, here are the graves to be room enough for this, and when a day such death carries the corpse away, with caribou banners, scarfs, and staves, and still the man hears all and only craves, he may not change such tender love and stave. Thus I have for so long suffered in this quest, heard failure prophesied so oft be writ, so many times among the band of wit, the knights who to dark towers search the rest of his steps, that just to fail as they seem best, and all doubtless now should I be fit. So quiet as despair I turned from him, that hateful cripple, out of his highway into the path he pointed, all the day had been a dreary one at best, the dim was settling into his clothes, yet shot one through red near to see the plain catches astray. For mark, no sooner was I fairly found, pledged the plain after a pace or two, then pausing throw backward a last view, over the safe road 'twas gone, grey plain all around, nothing but plain to the horizon's bound. I must go on, naught else remained to do. So on I went. Think I never saw such starved ignoble nature. Nothing throve, for flowers as well expect a cedar grove, but chortle and spurge according to their law might propagate their kind with none to awe. You'd think a burr had been a treasure trove. No penury inert in a single mace, in some strange sort were the land's portion. See or close your eyes, said nature peevishly. It nothing skills, I can't help my case. 'Tis last judgment's fire must cure this place. Calcine its clods and set my prisoners free. If there pushed any ragged thistle stalk above its mates, its head was chopped. The bents were jealous of, what made the holes and rents in the dock's harsh coarse leave, bruised as to balk all hope of greenness. 'Tis a brute must walk, passion or life with the brute's intents. As for the grass, it grew as scarce as hair in leprosy. Thin dry blades pricked the mud, which underneath it bleeded up with blood. One stiff blind horse's every bone astare stood stupefied however he came there, thrust out past service in the devil's stud. Alive, he might be dead for aught I know, with red gaunt and callop neck astrain, and shut eyes beneath the rusty mane. Seldom went such grotesqueness with such woe. I never saw a brute I hated so. He must have been wicked to deserve such pain. I shut my eyes and turned them on my heart, as a man calls for wine before he fights. I asked one draught of earlier and happier sights, ere fitly I could hope to play the part. Think first, fight afterwards, the soldier's art. One taste of old time sets all to rights. Not it. I fancied Cuthbert's reddening face beneath its garniture of curly gold. Dear fellow, till I almost felt him fold, an arm and mind fixed me to that place, that way he used. Alas, one night's disgrace, oh, when my heart's in fire and left it cold. Giles then, the soul of honor, there he stands, frank as 10 years ago when knighted first. An honest man should dare, he said he durst. Good, but the scene shifts. Thaw what hangman's hand pinned to his breast a parchment. His own band reads it, poor traitor spit upon and cursed. Better this present than a past like that. Back therefore to my darkening path. No sound, no sight as far as the eye can strain. Will the night send a howlet or a bat, I asked, when something on the dismal flat came to arrest my thoughts and change their train. A sudden river crossed my path, as unexpected as a serpent came. No tides congenial to the glooms. This as it frothed by might have been a bath for fiends going through. The see the wrath of the black eagle, be spat with flakes and spoons. So petty it, so spiteful all along, those scrubby alders kneeled over it. Drenched willows flung them headlong in a fit of rout despair. A suicidal throng, the river which had done them all the wrong, whatever that was, rolled by, deterred no whit. Which while I feared it, good saints, how I feared to set my foot upon a dead man's cheek. Each step or feel the spear I thrust to seek. Hollows tangled in his hair or beard. It may have been a water rat I speared, but ugh, it sounded like a baby shriek. Glad was I to reach the other bank. Now for a better country, vain presage, who are the strugglers? What war did they wage? Whose savage trample could thus have had the dank soil to a plash? Toads in a poison tank, or wild cats in a red-hot cage. The fight must so have seemed in that foul cirque. What penned them there with all the plain to choose? No footsteps leading to that word muse. None out of it. Mad Bruins set to work their brains, no doubt, like galley slaves in church pits for his pastime, Christians against Jews. And more than that, a furlong on, why there, what bad use was that engine for, that wheel, or brake not wheel, that harrow fit to reel men's bodies out like silk, with all the air of Tophet's tool, on earth left unaware, or brought to sharpen its rusty teeth of steel. Then came some stub ground, once a wood, next a marsh it would seem, now mere earth, desperate and done with, so the fool finds mirth, makes a thing and mars it till his mood changes, and off he goes, within a rude bog, clay and marsh, sand and stark black dirt. Now blotches rankling colored gay and grim, now patches where some leanness of the soils broke into moss or substances like boils. Then came a palsied oak, a cleft in him, a distorted mouth that splits its rim, gaping at death and dies while it toils. As far as ever from the end, not in the distance, but the evening not, point my footsteps further at that thought, great black bird, Apollyon's bosom's friend, sailed past or beat its wide wings, dragon pen, that brushed my cap, perchance the guide I sought. For looking up aware I somehow grew, the plain had given place all round the mountains with such names to grace, mere heights and heaps now stolen in view. How thus they surprised me, solving you, how to get from there was no clear case. Yet half I seemed to recognize some trick of mischief had happened to me, God knows when, in a bad dream perhaps. Here ended then progress this way, but in the very nick of giving up one more time came a click, as when the trap shuts you're in the den. Burningly it came upon me all at once. This was the place. Those two hills to the right crouched like two bulls locked horn in fight, while to the left a tall scout mountain, dunce daughter of dozing at the very nunce after a lifetime of training for the sight. What in the midst lay but the tower itself, the round squat turret, built of brown stone, blind as a fool's heart, built of brown stone without a counterpart in the whole world. The tempest's mocking elf points to the shipman thus, the unseen shelf he strikes on only when timbers start. Not see, when, because of night perhaps, why day came back for that. Behind it left the hills like two giants in the hunting lay, chin upon hand to see the game at bay, and they'll stab and end the creature to the heft. Not here, when noise was everywhere, it told, increasing like a bell, names in my ears, of lost adventurers, my peers, how such was strong, and such was bold, and such was fortunate, yet each of old, lost, one moment now the woe of years. There they stood, ranged along the hillside met, to view the last a living frame, for one more picture to sheet of flame. I saw them and knew them all, and yet, dauntless, a slughorn to my lips I sat and blew, child roll into dark tower cave. I just need to go get some more bagels here. I'll be back. Well, okay, that's all today. Have a good day. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Or maybe I'll leave it on for a bit longer. Yeah, bagels. Bagels are great. Love bread as well. Bread's one of my favorite things in the world. Well, those are ready.